Oh snap! We live? I think we're live. Yay! Okay. Yeah. I am Malcolm Friend. I am this week's reader for Poets in Pajamas. I'm gonna give it a few minutes. Let folks come to the page, come to the reading. In the meantime, I'm gonna drink some water. Make sure I'm hydrated. Oh snap! People are tuning in. Okay, okay. I see eyeballs in the corner. Yeah, I'm gonna be really awkward right now just because I haven't started reading yet. And usually, before I start reading, I'm able to interact face to face with people beforehand. But now I'm just sitting alone in my room. Okay. Um, but yeah, like I said, I'm Malcolm Friend. I am this week's reader for Poets in Pajamas. Um, in a few minutes, I will start sharing some poems with y'all. Before I do that, I just want to say that one, there is some lag between when I speak and when y'all get this. So what I'm going to do is just say, as the reading is going along, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And that way, once we get to the end of the reading and I start taking questions, it's a little bit easier to get to those questions just a little bit faster. And I'm just going to also type that into the comments myself right now for anyone who joins in the next couple minutes or so. Like I said, I'm just typing into the comments section really quickly, just so that what I just said is up there for folks who happen to join in as we're going. Oh, hey, Anna's here, and Kim's here, and Annie's here. Whoa, what's up? Just gonna bounce my head while I'm waiting. Okay, yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, gotta reach now. All right, yeah. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and as folks are joining, I'm just gonna say a little bit about myself. Um, my name is Malcolm Friend. I'm obviously a poet. I'm originally from the Rainier Beach neighborhood of Seattle, Washington. Shout out to the South End. Yeah, there's not much more really to say about me other than I am the author of the chapbook mixtape. Unfortunately, right now, my rabbit Peanut is guarding the door to the closet where those chapbooks are held, so I will not bother her and will not try to get that. She might try to make an appearance on screen as the reading is going, and will probably be making noise in the background as we're going as well. But in addition to Mixtape, I am also the author of the book, Our Bruises Kept Singing Purple, winner of the 2017 Hillary Gravendyk National Poetry Prize, published by Inlandia Books, and available where you may find books. I'm going to read a little bit from that. I'm going to read some new stuff tonight as well as we're going. And hopefully, Peanut does not completely try to jump into frame soon. She's moving around in the background right now. You might hear her skittering and scattering as we go. Okay, but you know what? We're about 5 minutes in. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. If folks join as we're going, that's great. I will start by reading a poem by someone not named me. This is something that I usually do just to make sure that you hear at least one good poem come out of my mouth. And I am going to start by reading a poem by Araceli Gramay. It will be from her first book, Teeth. So let's go ahead and get this party started. Scent, love poem for the pilon by Araceli Gramay. I thank God for El Mercado in Santurce, where we filled our bags. I thank God for the chopped translucence of onions above which we poured oregano and salt. And I thank God for yellow oil in the pot, the buckle and hiss of heat under a pan. I am thankful for the kitchen table, block of wood and nails and the carpenter's hand. I thank God for cloves. I am thankful for red beans and black beans and rice. I am thankful for rice. And I am thankful for the barking of dogs like the ones we'd sometimes hear outside the window above the sink. I am thankful for fruits in bowls, the wet of faucet, the way clean dishes went on the left side, dirty dishes on the right. I thank God for the chopping board and light, the grind of pepper going chickadee, chickadee, and the clean smell of tomatoes and cilantro. And I thank God for the pilon that burst the knots of garlic, thankful for the way it always worked and worked under a fist. How even now, after washes with limes and soaps, the scent of what it's opened still lingers there. All right, so that was Araceli Gramay. And I guess that means now no more hesitating, no more putting it off. I'll read a couple of poems from our Bruises Kept Singing Purple. And we're gonna go ahead and stay on that food tip. So this first poem that I'm gonna read is for a restaurant in Seattle. Silver Fork was my favorite restaurant to go to as a kid, my favorite restaurant that my family went to all the time, birthdays, graduations, everything. But alas, is no longer open. Afro-Seattleite fragment number 3, Silver Fork, an elegy. 1. It's 1995, maybe 96. Truth is, you'll be here so often before you reach 21 that Silver Fork will be associated with the beginning of time. When you're 6, you'll come here after your younger sister busts the top of your first adult tooth, an incisor. At 19, you'll bring your best friend from high school here, sink your teeth into a soul burger. But for now, you're 3, maybe 4. Diana Ross is asking where her love went, and Dad's ordered you a short stack, more food than you'll actually eat. You order the hot chocolate yourself. A Mount Rainier portion of whipped cream looms over the cup's horizon, and you'll spend more time forcing spoonful after spoonful of it into your mouth than eating what little portion of your pancakes you don't fork over to Dad. 2. It's 2010. You've just graduated from high school. 4 generations of your blood have gathered here. Marty, Mom and Dad, Marcus, Veronica, Nene with Will, and Junior. Your nephew is 2, just a couple years younger than you were the first time you stepped in here. This time, it's David Ruffin insisting he ain't too proud to beg, but the story is the same. He smiles, he laughs, he eats some, but not all, of his pancakes, and for a moment you think this is family inheritance. In barely 3 years, Silver Fork will close. The land used instead for a Safeway gas station. Your nephew is the last of your lineage to ever be serenaded by Motown legends as he eats breakfast. And you wonder if he knew. Would he commit the moment to memory? Or would he sit there, smile sitting on top of his face, just like you did years ago when they brought that hot chocolate, whipped cream bursting over the edge of the cup? Okay. Yeah, Silver Fork was definitely my favorite place to eat as a kid. And every day, every time I go back now to Seattle, I'm really, really disappointed that it's no longer there for so many reasons. All right. Yeah, so we're gonna just stick with food. I had dinner right before this reading, so I'm like really thinking about food right now. And actually, one of the things that I had for dinner is the title of this next poem. And this poem is dedicated to my abuela, my father's mother, who passed away before I was born. Rice and beans. No filet mignon or lobster bisque for this Boricua. When I die, I want my last meal to be rice and beans. All I require is simplicity, red beans over white rice. The same thing my father used to eat, Grandma Thelma, God rest her soul, heating up the stove on 112th and Lexington. But Mom, we had rice and beans yesterday, my father complained. No, Chico, yesterday we had rice and beans. Today we are having beans and rice. What we make do with what we have. What we lack is pushed out of our minds. We adapt, code switching masters dealing with dualities. Like my father when he duped Grandma Thelma by switching from the simple flavors found in the Spanish his mother was raised on to the English tongue she always had trouble swallowing. His ingenuity rewarded with a frying pan to the head. Like me in Greece hoping to avoid the woman trying to swindle American tourists, I sari pero yo no piqui mucho English. Like Grandma Thelma, who left the tropical shores of her native Puerto Rico for the cold winters of New York. Rice and beans is more than a dish. It is the complexity found in the simplicity of a smile. When at your high school graduation, your father, tears in his eyes, tells you that your abuela is shedding her own tears of joy in heaven. I want that spread over my face when I die. Okay. All right. Oh, JR left a comment talking about rice and beans making me miss my grand. Malcolm, this is disrespectful. Yeah, you know I'm disrespectful, JR. You know that's how I roll. All right. But I'm going to take a break from our Bruises Kept Singing Purple to read some newer work. And before I move on to that newer work, just want to reiterate, if you have any questions as the reading is going along, feel free to leave them in the comments. The more questions that are there as the reading goes on, the easier it is at the end of the reading for me to just transition straight into those, though I will leave a couple of minutes for any extra questions to come in as well. hydrate time. Okay. So the new work that I'm going to read, a lot of it I wrote really because of Hurricane Maria hitting Puerto Rico. There's a lot that I've had to think about in the couple of years since the hurricane hit the archipelago. And so I'm trying to work through a lot of that. And one of the things that obviously comes up is outside reaction to Hurricane Maria. So the hurricane hitting the islands. And one of the things that has come into focus is that, and I think this is like officially moving forward, is like Steven Spielberg wanting to make a remake of West Side Story, which for me, growing up in a household with a Puerto Rican father, my dad always hated West Side Story, and I've got another poem about West Side Story that I'm not going to read tonight, but like my dad always hated West Side Story, so seeing that like it's being brought back into the public imagination is just a lot to deal with, especially like the timing of it being brought back. So this first new poem that I'm going to read, you can find it in Tinderbox, actually. Remake, West Side Story, after Steven Spielberg. In this version, there are no jets or sharks. There is no Tony or Maria. There are no upbeat dance numbers. This isn't a feel-good story. The whole score is a slow bolero looped for 152 minutes. America is turned into a remix of Lamento Borincano, the elegy it was always meant to be. The opening scene is a flight from San Juan to New York post-Maria. I guess there is a Maria in this movie. It contains the film's only cameo. Rita Moreno, stepping off the plane, looking back, fighting off tears before she turns forward, disappears into a throng of bodies, just like the rest of us. And then the other two new poems that I'm going to read, this past, I think it was like the end of February, I was at a reading that the homie Julian Randall was doing. And like I had always tried to read new work at readings, but like he put into words like what I could not. Basically that you should always try to put in at least a couple of things, one or two things that the audience can't find at home, because otherwise like they could have put together a set list themselves. Like they could have just found you like on YouTube or found your work online and just be like, I'm just going to read all these poems. So these next two poems I'm going to read at the moment cannot be found anywhere. They're going to be Poets in Pajamas exclusives for now. Ode to Justin Bieber, ending on presidential jump shots. Who hasn't needed a white boy to endorse them at some point? Even Yankee and Fonsi aren't güero enough. For me, it was high school Spanish. Classmates singing along to all the songs we learned for vocab. Laughing afterward as they donned mock Univision accents. Spoke slowly. Or maybe it was the AP movie project. The in-class award for best accent me and the other Latin folk were barred from. I know you don't understand, Justin. Could never know what it is to have your blood spilled into a language. The slow drowning of your throat to choke on both. When your accent is flat or you forget the words, you aren't accused of cutting your tongue out, burying it in Yankee soil. You get to laugh it off. Ha ha, funny accent, funny tongue. Despacito. I watch the president slowly lob paper towels like he's playing an arcade game into a crowd of people who look like my dad. Smirk, there's a lot of love here. Try to dig through the muck. Unearth this tongue and stick it back into my mouth. But all I find is you. Find all the white boys who laughed off their accents. Struggle to cry through this blood slow gurgling in my throat. Okay. And then this last new poem that I'm going to read is, it's fragmented right now. It's still sort of responding to Hurricane Maria, but thinking more so about what it is to grow up as, to be born and raised as a Puerto Rican in diaspora. Having to realize that my experiences are not the experiences of people who grew up on the island. And yeah, like I said, like it's really fragmented right now. I'm still working on it. But I'm gonna read what I have so far. And each part, I'm kind of playing with the decima. So each part is 10 lines. Each line is 8 syllables long. I kind of, like I said, I'm playing with it, but I'm not being strict to it. So it's not a strict decima, but I am playing with it. Huracan was a god of the Tainos. Give me an etymology and I'll show you the blood behind each syllable. How Huracan gave way to España, gave way to America. Destruction is less a surprise when you're used to angry gods. To Wabansex calling on her gale force servants to wipe it all away. Every syllable from every hushed prayer. Call me diasporican, fake Rican, anything but Bori. My feet have always been rooted in the States. Exile as first sin. Tongue soaked in English, translation has always been a sacrifice. Offering to whatever gods whiplash the island out of me. I read Simi, see God, see Gus, see myself safe from shores away. I've wanted to ask for a month. Worry the question will trigger memories of Abuela's death. The siblings who blamed him, named him cancer, desgraciado, a rotten Midas. I don't know Dad's family. Can't name my cousins. Call it storm. How gusts scatter a people's seas apart. Call it wreckage. How breath flings the word familia from tongues. Death tolls keep rising. 64, 500. A sensational estimate. 822. Not proven. 985. Totally meaningless average reported. To attribute deaths over 6 months is difficult, subjective. 1052. Predictable sensationalism. Forgive our math. 46, 45. And for that last part of that poem, most of the language is taken from 2 separate articles. One is from the Cato Institute, the other from the Washington Post. But both articles were bringing into question exactly how many people died as a result of Hurricane Maria, which of course is a really messed up thing to do when people are grieving, when people are dead, and when we know that Hurricane Maria exacerbated a lot of issues that were already in existence on the island. All right, so I'm going to read one more poem. And then we'll move on to any questions. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will get to them as I see them. And I just wanted, for this last poem, like, I'm really, really excited that Kim is watching via the internet. What a wonderful thing. Because this last poem was in part inspired by Kim. Fried. After Kevin Young and Kimberly Grabowski-Strayer. 1. Seattle, summer, 75 and sunny. Mom has sent you out to play with Mook and Ronk. The golden rule, give her the day as she gave you life. Don't come back until dinner, and when you do get back, keep your skinny butt out of her kitchen. Sweat has already taken hold of her hair. Roots nappy as yours, best not try traverse them. I don't care if you're thirsty. I don't need more bodies in this hot kitchen. But you can't help it. Your ears sizzle to the tune of that crackling oil, sweeter than any siren song, more earthy, more blues. Like normalcy with big punctuation marks of struggle, and there it is, golden brown, perfectly crispy, like the smack upside your head Mom gives you, the jolt crackling like oil in the pan. 2. Mornings away are cold, the nights colder, the warmed mamofongo, slices of plátano fried golden, then mashed with chicharrón and garlic under a pestle's weight. The action is listless. No, it's persistent, insistent on binding as much as breaking. Like the boleros, tales of heartbreak Dad boomed from any CD player harder than his machismo, his bravado, his ay ay. This was meant to bind him to Mom. Demonstration that he is not just sharp salsa, that even the greenest plátano can be broken down. You exist only in front of them. That is, these sliced up plátanos. No sparking to the garlic of this grind, the crackle of wood-smashed chicharrón, but maybe also those boleros, Ismael and Celia and Cheo grinding your soul under the weight of their voices. Cheo especially, voice a croon stretching notes over drums and maracas that crackle like oil. 3. Maybe you belong to both. Maybe mofongo is fried chicken, the rhythm of light and dark and oil, the rhythm of crackle. Cheo's voice is Mom's hand upside your head, is chicharrón. Plátanos exist to be fried. Chicken exists to be fried. You exist in front of them. You that oil. You make it all crackle. All right. So that is all for me for the reading. And now, I guess at this point, I'll give it a couple minutes, see if anyone has any questions. Feel free to leave them in the comments. I will hydrate really quickly, and then I guess try to come up with some witty banter in the meantime, while those questions are coming in and forming in between the lag. And also, shout out to Peanut, who's been very, very good and has not at all tried to barge in. Usually, when I'm in the bedroom and she's out, she just like jumps up and tries to take over everything. So, shout out to Peanut for being a very good girl and just not really caring about me right now. Okay. Okay. Ooh, we've got one question that has come in. That question being from Kim, actually. And so, yeah, I'll answer that question, and then I will keep it open in case any other questions come in. So the question is, does your writing practice change at all with the seasons? That's a good question. I would say definitely once summer hits, my writing practice changes. Um, Mostly because over the course of fall, winter, and spring, I'm teaching. And so I feel less bad if I'm not writing over the course of those seasons, over the course of the school year. So once summer hits, I get kind of nervous and actually like have to at certain points just tell myself to sit down and write because I have no excuse not to. Outside of that, I would say that my writing practice stays pretty consistent over the course of the year. Um, Typically, I don't try to write if I don't have any ideas, which I know is like sort of counter what a lot of advice is, which is like to write anything you can whenever you can. But for me, like if I'm not feeling moved to write, like I'm not going to try to force it. Um, Mostly because like for me, like for most of us, writing started out as something that was just fun. And so if I'm not having fun with it, what's the point in me even doing it? So obviously that is to say that like occasionally if I'm like stumped and don't have an idea, but something fun comes to mind and I just want to scribble for a little while, I'll do that. But other than that, I mostly just try to write whenever I feel most moved to. All right. We have a question also from Michelle Moncayo. What's up, Michelle? And the question is, how does music influence your poetry practice? Which I feel like is a trick question or from Michelle because Michelle knows how much I incorporate music into my poems. But I would say that it's a big, big part of my poetry. Honestly, like I can't write if I don't have background noise. I get really sort of, what's the word I'm looking for right now? I kind of can't sit still if I don't have music when I'm writing. Like I get way distracted super easy. And so like I'm always listening to music while I'm writing. Typically I'll listen to reggaeton while I'm writing just because the vast majority of it sounds very, very similar. So even if there's a song that I really, really like that comes on and I kind of get tuned into that, for the most part, it's like the same frequency that's going from one moment to the next. And of course, like because I use music a lot within my writing, whenever I am writing a poem that is specifically responding either to an artist or to a song, I will listen to that song on repeat until I have gotten that out. And I guess sort of as an example, and this is kind of neither of the two things that I just said. Um, as an example, I was writing a poem for like a poem that was like supposed to be super, super West Coast. And so I was listening to like Kings slash Khalil, who is a rapper based in Seattle, where I'm from, and also listening to like E40 and Too Short and stuff, like as a way to try to get back into that space. Okay. Question from Annie. Oh, Sorry, Peanut is like just out of frame now, so I'm gonna pet her a little bit, see if that calms her down. Question from Annie. You mentioned playing with form a little. What types of form have you been experimenting with, and do you prefer working with or without a form in mind? So right now, the only form that I'm really playing with is that decima, which is used a lot in music in Latin America, and particularly when we think about Puerto Rican music, thinking about like Jibaro music, the country music of Puerto Rico. It's something that got used a lot. So that's the form that I'm dealing with a little bit now. Honestly, like I go like months in between working on that poem that I read, Huracan was a God of the Tainos. I go like months between working on that just because it's a lot. And so I need the space from it a lot of the times. But in the past, and these are like things that you can find in Our Bruises Kept Singing Purple. Ding, product placement. I've worked with like sonnets, I've worked with sestinas, pantoums, ghazals, what else? Contrapuntals, pretty much anything that I can. And at first, I really didn't like form. I just saw it as like a bunch of rules that I had to follow that were honestly, and this came in part like once I actually started reading beyond what I was assigned in class. It seemed like a bunch of rules that a bunch of white people made up that didn't really connect with what I was trying to do. And then I got that idea completely smacked down. First, when in grad school, Terrence Hayes actually, like after a workshop, was like, "Yeah, you got a lot of good stuff here. I want to see you play with form a little bit more." And like, no lie, actually said like, "I would love to see you flip a sestina," and like that was the most hilarious thing that I had ever read in a comment, and was like, "Okay, I guess I have to do this now." But then also after reading John Murillo's Up Jump the Boogie, which like if you have not read that, is an amazing sort of master class in form. The way that he uses form really inspired sort of the way that I try to look at form. So like if I'm using a poem in which I'm trying to look at cycles, like a sestina is really good for that, or a pantoum could be really good for that. So it became a way of working with form, I should say, became a way of trying to do all of these things trying to represent the things, I should say, that I was trying to do within the poems. All right, question from Norma Liliana Valdez. What's up, Norma? Nice to hear from you. Nice to see you here. Have you ever written a poem that was necessary, but that somehow also hurt you, or cut you deep in ways you didn't expect? I don't know about necessary, but definitely necessary to me, like something that I had to write. And of course, like a lot of the Afro-Seattleite fragments deal with my experience in high school. I was one of 4 Black students in my graduating class, and there were a lot of things from that experience that like took a while for me to sort of get over and get through. And going back to some of those experiences definitely hurt. What I will say is that, and I'm a big proponent of this, is like not writing anything that I'm not ready to write. So if I'm not ready to deal with something, then I'm not going to write about it because that's not healthy for me. I would also say that like the poem Huracan was a God of the Tainos, that last part where I'm pulling language from those 2 different sources, that hurt a lot. Just because like I knew that discussion was going on, but to actually have to read through some of those articles and to have to see that, like I was not expecting how much that was going to hurt at the time, which is part of why I've had to take so much time off. Like that was the last section that I had written, and that's part of why I've had to take so much time off from that particular poem. Okay. And okay, got a couple more questions in here. One from JR Mahung, the homie from Chicago, as he has let y'all know in the comments. I have a question, but it's more of a comment. Wow, I hate you for that. It's actually very much a question. Okay, I don't hate you anymore. What's exciting you right now outside of poetry? Wow. Wow, wow. You really like well-rounded individuals, JR. I see. Well, for one, my rabbits excite me. Peanut is not the only one. Wally is as well. He's currently in the living room because they don't always get along. But my rabbits excite me, especially as they open up more. Peanut especially because she's just been craving attention recently. Baseball excites me, although my hometown team, the Seattle Mariners, are terrible, so that's not as exciting. The Pittsburgh Pirates are doing a little bit better this year, so that's exciting for me. Baseball is one of the things that me and my dad shared growing up. And so like to be watching baseball is something that I've kind of taken with me as I leave home. What else? Oh, NBA offseason. That has been exciting. All of the drama with Kawhi Leonard, with all the other free agents, with Kyrie Irving, with Kevin Durant, like that has been amazing. Like I think it's Hanif Abdul-Rakib who says like that NBA offseason is one of his favorite sports, and I completely agree. Like NBA offseason is the best. So those are some things outside of poetry that are exciting me. Okay. And then this will, unless anything comes up in like the next minute or so, this will probably be the last question, which is a really good one, also from Annie. How do you balance sensitivity with the subject, like survivors of Hurricane Maria, with the craft of what the poem needs? Yeah, like I said, that's a really good question. Because it's honestly like it's really difficult to navigate. Like I said, like one of the things that I've had to deal with these last few months is my own subjectivity, being someone who is Puerto Rican but was born and raised in diaspora, knowing that like the way that things affect the island are not usually not the way that things are going to affect me. And part of it, I think, is just trying to stay within my own subjectivity. So like not trying to assume that what I say speaks for what people on the islands are thinking or are feeling. Trying to just speak for myself, trying to make sure I acknowledge my gaps in knowledge. And I think that like as long as I do that, then I can start thinking about the craft of the poem. I can start thinking about language. I can start thinking about form. And I can start thinking about those things that come with poetry that often don't account for other people's experiences and other people's lives. And so, yeah, I would definitely say that part of it is just within that subject matter, making sure that I am staying true to the fact that, like, my experiences are not going to be the same as someone who was forced to move because of Hurricane Maria. My experiences are not going to be the same as people still living on the islands, and that I can only really speak from my own experience of someone who is seeing all of these things happen from afar, and who has grown up really dealing with living in the diaspora of a colony. Okay. All right. So doesn't look like there are any more questions. So I think that will be a wrap for me tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Poets in Pajamas, for having me. This is a great series. I can't wait to see the rest of this year's lineup. And I hope everyone has a really good night.